Manchester United, FA Cup. It is a big game for Manchester United, absolutely massive. We've got Huddersfield, and the reason why it's so important for me, this game, it's the last chance for Manchester United to realistically stand any chance of getting silverware. The Champions League for me would be an absolute miracle to win that this season. With just the form that Manchester United are in, it's not necessarily just the results. Okay, the last two away results have been really bad because we've lost them both, but just the performances aren't up to scratch. The team on paper just isn't good enough to win the Champions League. So this is the last chance for Manchester United, for me, to win a piece of silverware. And if Manchester United can't win it, it will be a horrendous season for me. Even if Manchester United finish second, with the start we had at the start of the season till now, it would be a disaster to not win anything, and would be a worse season for me than last season. And we're going to this game, probably we will be favourite for the game, but with them last two away performances, I'm not that confident Manchester United going into this will definitely get the victory. Manchester United are going to have to put a relatively strong side out to stand any chance of claiming the victory in this one. I know we've got a Champions League game against Seville in the week, but to be honest, I'm not expecting Manchester United to get very far, even if we get through the Seville tie. So I would concentrate first and foremost on this game. Put a strong team out, and if you rest any players, have them on the substitutes bench just in case, because this is Premier League opposition. Okay, Huddersfield may rest one or two as well because their main aim is to stay up in the Premier League, but Manchester United have got to be going all guns out for this FA Cup. I mean, we are still second in the Premier League. It is true that Manchester United could fuck that up and finish fifth, but you would expect Manchester United probably to scrape through the line in the Premier League and finish in the top four. So if we got the top four and FA Cup, it would be seen as an okay season for Manchester United, not a vintage season or anything like that, but it would just be an okay season. I know Louis van Gaal got sacked for that, but Manchester United were going backwards, and in a number of games were just scraping by in some of the FA Cup ties as well, and won it. So, but Manchester United obviously finished outside the top four then. So if Manchester United could claim the top four and the FA Cup, that would be relatively progress for me, because we're still winning some form of silverware this season. But this is going to be really tough. The other teams that are in this competition, the likes of Chelsea, Tottenham, Man City, have all got relatively easy games, or easier games on paper, not Premier League opposition. So, and Manchester United are going to definitely have to play Premier League opposition now for the rest of this tournament, I believe, because the other non-Premier League teams will most likely get knocked out in this round. So it's going to be very difficult for Manchester United to win this. What sort of team I'm not so sure what sort of team. He's probably going to put out a strong lineup for this. I really don't. When he plays against Premier League opposition, he doesn't really rotate too much in these cup competitions, even in the League Cup. So I would expect, though, probably Romero to be in goal. That wouldn't make too much difference, I shouldn't think. But the back four has got to be changed up a bit. There's so many horseshit players in this back line for Manchester United, and some of them have got to be kicked out in the summer. Manchester United cannot keep playing Ashley Young at left back. He's got to be kicked out in the summer. Not good enough for Manchester United going forward. Like Roy Keane said, you're going to have problems if you keep playing Ashley Young at left back. He's not a left back. He's coming up to about 33 years of age. If Luke Shaw's not getting in the team now, then he's not going to be getting a game next season, as far as I'm concerned, because he's going to buy someone else. Because if you can't get ahead of Ashley Young, there is problems. So it's got to be Luke Shaw at left back, Valencia at right back. Then we're going to change the centre half top. We've got to put Lindelof and Eric Bay in there. Eric Bay is back in training, and even if he's only got one leg, he's got to be better than Chris Smalling and Phil Jones for me. Then in midfield, it's going to be interesting to see what Jose Mourinho does. He said that Paul Pogba is available for this game, so Paul Pogba for me will have to start alongside Scott McTominay. He will probably go for a two-man midfield, but if he does go for the three-man midfield, then Matic as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if he plays the two and gives Matic the rest. Either that, or he could play Michael Carrick as well as a midfield three, because Herrera is still out injured. I would go for the three-man midfield. You could play Carrick, McTominay, and you could play Pogba in there, and then you could play... He's probably going to go with Martial, Sanchez and Romelu Lukaku, something along them lines. for me for Manchester United. He may choose to rest Martial. I don't know, but he's in and out still this season. He's got to get more consistent in his goal scoring for Manchester United. I think he's got about 11 goals this season. Needs to really be hitting the 15-20 goal a season mark for Manchester United if we are to stand any chance of fighting for top trophies, the Premier Leagues and the Champions Leagues over the coming season. You're looking at the other sort of teams, the likes of Liverpool, who've got very good attack. Manchester City, who are scoring lots of goals. Their forwards are getting into the 15-20 goals now mark, which Martial should be capable of doing that, which he just hasn't been able to do that so far for Manchester United. His goal tally hasn't really increased since his first season at Manchester United, which is a bit disappointing. Just got to get that more consistency in his game on a regular basis for Manchester United. But Sanchez and Romelu Lukaku will have to play in attack as well. But I would prefer to see that three-man midfield. There's been a lot of controversy about Paul Pogba. I think he's just off form though at the moment, but he does work better in that midfield three. He's had some ups and downs this season. Obviously, he's had that injury which stumped a part of his season. He had that sending off as well, so stuff hasn't really helped. It's been a stop-start season for him, but he needs to get some games, get some form back. Be great though if Eric Bailly can come back in and play alongside Lindelof. I think that was what Jose Mourinho was looking to do at the start of the season when he brought both of them when he brought Lindelof in and Eric Bailly was fit. I think he was looking to at some point get them two into the starting lineup, but Lindelof hasn't had nowhere near enough minutes. And alongside Eric Bailly, hopefully that will be the future partnership for Manchester United. We've still got hope. Lindelof will be going into his second season at Manchester United next season, and them pair could probably complement each other very, very well. We need to get that ball playing centre half into the Manchester United team. Phil Jones and Chris Smalling just not good enough for Manchester United for me. Chris Smalling was atrocious last weekend against Newcastle and run his course. I mean, both of them had plenty of chances at Manchester United to turn it around. I mean, Phil Jones has been injured a lot over the seasons, but this season has had a lot of chances. And yes, people are saying he's been good, but this is Manchester United. Good's just not acceptable for Manchester United. It's got to be excellence for Manchester United. It cannot be just good. Manchester United have got to be Manchester United. You've got to be very, very good for Manchester United. Otherwise, you're going to be binned off. Manchester United have got to always be looking to win league titles and Champions Leagues, and they won't do that with Phil Jones, Chris Smalling and Ashley Young in defence. And Valencia, for that matter, next season will probably have to be binned off as well. Been a very good servant at right back for Manchester United, Valencia, but his time is coming to an end as well. But hopefully that midfield three can help Manchester United get over the line in this game. It's going to be tricky, but hopefully Manchester United can get the job done. I know some people want to see the likes of Chong and Angel Gomez getting a game for Manchester United in this one, but neither of them for me are quite ready to start. I mean, Chong is probably looking the better out of the two for Manchester United, but both are actually starting tonight for the under-23s against Chelsea, which will probably get beaten because the under-23s have been absolute horseshit this season. But Chong's looking very, very good this season since coming back from that injury. He's probably the closest to playing regularly for the first team, even though Angel Gomez has actually got some minutes for the first team. In the under-23 so far, Gomez hasn't looked as good as Chong. Chong seems to be a bit ahead of him in terms of maturity, and he is slightly older than Gomez. I think he's 18 and Gomez is still only 17, so that may be a big part of it. But Gomez hasn't really, so far, he started off okay against West Ham in the first one, but since then, the other few games he's played, 2 or 3 games, hasn't really looked that great. Hasn't really got enough of the ball and hasn't really affected the games at all. Has been pretty anonymous. Hasn't been been terrible, but just hasn't been in the game at all. So very, very quiet. And I think he's going to have at least 5-6 more games. I think they've got about 5 or 6 more games in the under-23s left of the season. So he needs to play in some of them before giving any more time in the first team. Okay, he did look okay against Yeovil in the previous round, but Manchester United was swatting them aside on the attack, and he just got the ball and cut his man up and shot and hit the side netting, and that was against lower league opposition. This is Premier League opposition, so it's going to be a lot harder. These are a lot more tougher and physical players at this age group. It is a massive gap going up. That is probably the biggest gap going up from the under-18s to the under-23s. You get players that are in their 20s, early 20s, 21, 22, and potentially even 23 in them in them teams against the likes of Chelsea and that, who they're playing tonight. And physically and mentally and tactically, it's so much harder for these players going up. So it might take him a while to adapt to that. Some players like Chong has taken it like a duck to water so far, but it can be hard for a number of other players. But then again, Chong's bigger than Angel Gomez, and he is 18 years of age. So, but we will have to wait and see. You get some players that just take it easy, like Marcus Rashford as well. Just went from the 18s, wasn't exactly smashing it at the under 18s in terms of his goal record, but went up, wasn't exactly smashing it for the under 23s either. Only scored about 1 goal in about 6 or 7 games, and then smashed it in the first team. So you never know. The main problem is the under 23s are performing really, really bad. So it is nice to see that Chong is one of the main men probably the main man in the under 23s now, which is incredible to think, considering how poorly the under 23s are playing. He's made himself the main man, which probably isn't helping Angel Gomez. Angel Gomez probably does need to play in a winning team that's playing well and scoring lots of goals, which he was doing in the under 18s. I don't think it really helps his game at all when he's not getting on the ball, when he's just not seeing enough of it. He seems to drift out of games far too easy. He's got to be always involved in the action, got to be looking to get the ball moving and moving and stuff like that for him to affect the game. Anyway, that's my thoughts anyway on that. I'm hoping for a strong lineup from Manchester United so that we can get the job done in this fixture tomorrow evening, and then move on to the next game against Seville. I'm going to go for Manchester United, just sneaking this game 2-1. Hopefully we can get the job done. I mean, at the worst case scenario, a draw for Manchester United would be the worst case, and then we would have to take this game back to Old Trafford. Would really not like a draw, but at least it would keep Manchester United in the FA Cup. Anyway, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll talk to you all again soon. See ya.